Clarity is the first step to everything. That's why I always talk about clarity is power. Clarity, who you are, where you're going, and what you can contribute to the world. If those three things are crystal clear, your decision making becomes very easy.
Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue.
As you know, here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe in shining the light on all things bombastic and illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls, one podcast at a time. So here we are tonight with our fabulous guest, Sandra Saenz. Yes, if you were looking for a sign, here she is. I love that name. And Sandra's company is Dream Team Communications. And of course, she has so many wonderful things that she's bringing to us today. She's the first American to be Dale Carnegie certified trainer in Vienna. Her passion is really creating an environment for champions to shine. Really enjoy that. And she's also an author, of course. Bring your A game, right?
That's right.
Oh, wonderful.
Where do we start? I'm sure I missed 1,000 things that you do, but was that a good gist to get us started?
That was fabulous. I love the whole, if you're looking for a sign intro. No one's ever said that. I love it.
See? No, you're kidding me.
No, I don't think so.
Please have it. Brandon, it's yours.
We're in tune. We're in tune.
So, Sandra, we were talking a little bit before we hit go about the certification happening in Vienna. So will you tell us all about that?
That was a huge turning point. You know how we have these turning points in our lives? I call them moments of impact. And that was one of them for me that impacted not just my business career, but my whole sort of a direction in life. I'm just a girl from Texas who was working on an account in Budapest, having a glass of red wine as we're sitting on the Danube. And my client said, every time you come to Budapest, you say, I love it here. I love it, which I did. And he said, why don't you just come work here? Why don't you just live here? And it didn't take me, it took minutes for me to process it in my head. And I thought, yeah, why don't I? And logically, right, I had a great job. I finally had one of my dreams, which was to have a BMW convertible. I lived in Tennessee at the time.
Awesome.
I had underground parking. That was a big deal, right? I was in my 30s. That was underground parking for my convertible at work. And so this was all flashing through your head, when somebody says, why don't you do that? And I thought, yeah, why don't I do that? That sounds so fun, right? To move to Budapest and to work in marketing and advertising. I was the director of business development for a company, and that's what took me to Budapest to get us some projects. So I moved to Budapest for 3 months. He said, I'll give you work for 3 months. You can see if you like it. And my whole family thought I was nuts because I'm from San Antonio, Texas. So Texans, right, are different.
Yeah.
Why would you ever move outside of the state of Texas, much less outside of the United States? So I moved there, and 3 months turned into about 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And I I lived there for almost 20 years. I worked in international advertising for Ogilvy and Mather, and I was doing evening workshops, free workshops for my team, for my creative guys, right, to win the, in advertising, it's always a pitch, right? So it's a contest to win the account.
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed they weren't getting it. So I started doing evening classes, and that's when somebody said, you should be a trainer. And I thought, that kind of sounds interesting. So you see all these messages that you get from people around you, from source or the universe, whatever you want to call it. One was, why don't you move here to Europe? And I walked through that door. The other one was, you should be a trainer. And I thought, that sounds kind of fun. And I was an international advertising executive, nothing to do with being a trainer, right? And so I looked into it, and long story short, I called the best, in my opinion, global training institute is Dale Carnegie Training Institute. It's been around the longest. and there wasn't one in Budapest at the time. So I went home to Texas for Christmas. I looked into it, and there was one in Vienna, which is about 3 hours away. It's the neighboring country.
Right.
So I called them and just to go as a guest, right? I'd never been to a Dale Carnegie training in my life. And they said, we're having one next Tuesday. I said, oh, can I come? And the secretary, she said, well, absolutely. She said, yes, just come as a guest. It was in the evenings. And I thought, I'll drive 3 hours, go to Vienna, spend the night. Doesn't that sound kind of fun?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds
Yes,
really fun.
absolutely.
And so at the end of the conversation, she says, but the class, there's 28 people, but the class is in German because it's in Austria. That didn't even occur to me. And I said, oh, wow. And I joked. I said, wow, that's too bad because I speak English, Spanish, and Hungarian. I actually learned Hungarian. She goes, oh, you speak Spanish? And I said, yeah, actually. And she said, the trainer for this class, his mother is from Spain, so he can speak English and Spanish. And that was the third thing, like a moment of impact.
Right.
And I thought, okay, so now I've got to go, right? So I go to this class in the evening. Everybody's Austrian. I'm the only American. So for me, that's like change and adventure is super fun. Like it's not scary for me. I turn into like an 8-year-old going, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Right.
Love
Right.
that. Love
And
that.
so I took the
Great.
class, and somehow when they got up to speak and give their presentations and everything, I could sort of infer what they were talking about. And most of them speak English. So at the end of the night, each night is a different topic, and they give an award, and I won the first award.
No way.
I couldn't believe it. So the lead trainer, he was the owner, and he said, you should be one of my trainers. And I said, I don't live here. I live in Budapest. I drove 3 hours to come to your class. And he said, well, you should join the class. And so I did. So for 12 weeks, I drove to Vienna 3 hours on every Tuesday night. I found a little Panzio hotel where I could spend the night on Tuesday nights because the class was over like at 9.
Okay.
And at the end of that, I became a trainer. And he said, you do realize you're the first American that's been certified in Vienna. There's never been an American that got certified here. Most of them do it in America. I don't always do things the easy way.
No. So you
Right?
got certified in a language you didn't even speak.
Yes. And here's the golden nugget of it all is that it trained me in such a way so that I could communicate with people and really absorb more about what they were saying and feeling, their intentions, their true intentions, right? Their pain points, all of that on many different levels because I had to in order to understand what they were saying. So in
Wow.
retrospect, I didn't know that at the time, right? I didn't know. I just thought it was
Sure.
going to be something really cool and fun. But it's a huge lesson for me and for a lot of people. When a door opens, just because you don't know how you're going to get there, if it feels right, if it feels good, then it's very important to walk through it. Because those kind of moments of impact happen to us, I believe, all the time.
Mhm.
And I know people that it happens to, and they'll tell me, oh, yeah, but I didn't. And I was like, I'm thinking in my head, if you would have just taken that first step, who knows what would have happened, right?
Who knows?
What if I would have said, oh, okay, it's only in German, never mind, right? I would have
Right.
continued to work in advertising, and I
Right.
never would have known. So that all took me, so I became a trainer. And it was really funny because the owner, he said, we'll give you as much work as we can, but because yours are in English and we're in Austria, right? I can't promise how much work we're going to go your way. The first year, I had more trainings than any other trainer. And then right after
Sandra.
that, for 3 years in a
Wow.
row, I was rated like the highest. They give really strict feedback after these Dale Carnegie trainings.
So did you move to Vienna? Did you live in Vienna for those 3 years?
I traveled there a lot because
Okay.
it was easy and it was a train ride or it was a car ride. I still was working in advertising for like 2-3 years because I would do these on the weekends or at night.
Wow.
And then eventually I left my job and became a trainer. Yeah, because I
Wow.
loved it so much. I could see
Wow.
people's transformations, you know. It's a
Yes.
very different thing to work in an industry that's transactional versus transformational.
Yes.
And I,
Oh,
Sure.
yes.
you know, and that just was for me just way more fun. So
Yes.
that's how I became a trainer. It was all a series of moments of impact, but those moments of impact were like magical, really not typical at all. I have this saying, are you making decisions? Are you moving forward with fear or with faith? Because every single decision we make, we either make it moving forward with faith, trust, or fear.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, some people
Yes.
take
Yes.
jobs because, oh well, maybe that's the best one I'm going to get. Some people have relationships because, well, I don't want to be alone,
Yes.
right? Is
Mm-hmm.
that based on faith or fear?
Fear.
Every decision. So that's really, it was a huge turning point for me and a big lesson. And I continue, right, to learn it and to experience it, let's say.
Magic.
So that's
Of
what got me
course.
to Europe. And that then after I was a trainer for them, because I love, like you guys, to learn and expand my awareness as much as possible. I would say things like, well, if you want to manifest this, or are you really listening to your inner guidance? You know, I'd say in these business classes, I got certified in leadership and sales and self-development and in presentation training. They're all different certifications there. And somebody said, but you do other things, right? And so I was asked a couple of times to do one-on-one coaching with some CEOs, and that catapulted into me forming my own company, Dream Team Communications.
I love the name.
Fantastic.
Where did the name come
Thank
from?
you. Well, it's really funny that you asked that, Sue, because of course, when you teach leadership, it's all about teams, right? Because you're leading teams.
Yes.
So in the business world, corporate people immediately assume because I help them build their dream teams, which I do. But the deeper meaning is because I believe we all have dream teams on different levels of the
Okay.
world. And so whenever I have a success, I'm always like, thank you, dream team. Thank you, dream team. And you guys are now part of the dream team. So I believe
Yay.
we all have dream teams. Yeah. You know what I
Awesome.
mean?
Yes.
Totally.
Think about it. We have them in different just different levels, different planes. Some
Yeah.
are physical, some are not. Some
I like
speak my
that.
language, some don't, you know?
Sure.
Literally, right?
Yeah, literally. I do
Yeah.
so many things and I have so many aspirations and just want to reach more people that I often say my dream team has 3 shifts, you know, like there's 24 hours. So they're each 3 8-hour shifts because I have so much to do. And they're like, okay, Tag, you're it. I don't know what she wants this time. Now she wants to write a book. Oh my God. I can just see them up there thinking that. You know?
Oh
You're
my
talking about
gosh.
angels and things beyond what we can see.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
It's
love that.
really interesting because they, you know, all these intuitive hits that we get, whether we call it our inner guidance or our source or the unified field, right? Or just your intuition. But it's all the same thing. I believe it's all we're plugging into. It's quantum physics, right? We're plugging into a universal consciousness that's already there for us.
Mhm.
It just depends if we align with it at the right time. There's divine timing and there's alignment, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
So one of the modules that I'll probably put into the courses that I'm just now launching, these are new courses, is less action, more alignment. Less action, more alignment. Because what happens with people, and I got the idea from the business world, because in the business world, people are always making action lists and you know, the bottom line and this and that. And there's always lists.
Yes.
But those are all activities. It's a lot of busyness in the world. Don't you get the feeling?
Yes.
Mhm.
There's a difference between activity and results. So I
Amen.
tell them, you know, would you rather have an employee, right, that works 10 hours, has a lot of activity, or would you rather have one that works 6 hours and has better results?
Well,
So,
and have you heard, Sandra, that busyness is one of the new addictions?
yeah,
Because, you know,
believe it.
you get this sense of like everything's okay if you're busy, but then you realize that you've been running in circles and you don't have that sense of accomplishment maybe. Did you ever, before the Budapest and the Vienna and all of that started to happen for you, that kind of magic ignition that propelled you into other places?
Yeah.
Did you as a child want that, or was it somewhere in the back of your mind that came to
Yes.
fruition?
Yes. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't even know where Budapest was. Okay.
Right.
But I knew that I wanted to have a lot of variety and adventure in my life. Definitely. I mean, I'm the kid that, God, it's so funny that you asked that. I was just in Arizona this weekend because my mother and my brothers and sisters live in Arizona. And my mother, she just turned 90 in November. She's a 90-year-old that's like 60. She's very young
Amazing.
at heart, mind. She's like my mentor, my best coach. She said, I remember when Sandra was, when your mom says stuff like that, you're like, oh no, you don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Right? And she remembered that I used to always, I'm the oldest of four. And I would always come up with some kind of business. Like when I was like 8, 9, I would make Christmas wreaths for money. I would sell snow cones, lemonade, all that kind of stuff, right? We would put on shows in the garage. There was always a lot of adventure and not so much fantasy, but imagination, let's say, in my childhood.
And the team to go with it right from the start? Like you said,
Yeah.
you had some
The whole neighborhood.
because everything is so much better with that team action. I know when I'm doing something with Kim and Sue, it's so much more exhilarating.
I believe that we're built that way, It doesn't mean everything you do is always with a team. However, I do believe as human beings, we're not meant to be so isolated. That's part of why there's so much stress and sadness and sort of a disconnect in the world.
Yes.
And it's got a lot of positives. However, what I'm seeing from the other side, from someone who studies human behavior and communication, is that people are missing the human connections, right? And human interactions. And 20-year-olds are forgetting how to go and meet someone in person and
Yes.
just talk to them.
Yes.
They get very stressed. So yeah, there's a lot of anxiety around it. There's a lot of pressure. When I was growing up, there wasn't such a thing as social anxiety. I read something this morning about stress. It was a spiritual audio I was listening to, and the speaker said, stress is a human invention. It didn't exist before.
Right.
And it doesn't really exist. It only exists in our own mind and perception.
Yeah.
And the effects of stress, because there's so many physical effects of stress and how awful it can be.
It's a human invention.
Wow.
It doesn't really exist. He said, so just know stress is a zero. It's zero. And I love that.
Yes.
Because stress only exists because we believe it exists, right? A
Yes.
belief is only a thought we keep thinking.
Yes.
So if I say to myself, mindset mastery, if I say to myself, stress doesn't exist. If like right now, when you're really in the present and we're feeling so grateful and connected, there is no stress. I do, you know how there's these memes, it'll have like a picture and it'll have Einstein and then it'll have a quote. So I created some of mine and it'll have my quote and it'll say Sandra Saenz right after Einstein. It's
Love that.
hilarious.
That's perfect.
And one of them is,
I like that.
I'll send you guys some. One
Love
of
it.
them is where there is trust, there is no stress. Where
Oh,
trust
that's lovely.
exists, there is no stress.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
that
sense.
happens in business, but it happens in your personal life too. Like if you think about people that you interact with that you trust 100%, there's usually no stress. And when you trust yourself, there also isn't any stress. So it's a big deal because it causes a lot of not just mental, but it causes physical impact too.
Mhm.
And even deeper than that, it causes us to make choices, decisions that maybe are not the best. Because
Right.
that's not coming from our superconscious. It's coming from an external perception. So it's really important what we take in,
Mhm.
what social media, what people you hang out with. It's not just the food. It's not just of course, it's the food, it's the sunshine, everything we're absorbing, but it's everything on all levels.
on that note, I wanted to ask you, because on your website it says we've forgotten what our true joy is. How do we keep tapping into that?
Yeah, that's so good. I'm so glad you brought it up. That's why my tagline, it's Dream Team Communications, clarity is power on
Right.
everything that I do. And that's I just started a few months ago, videotaping 2-3 minute snippets, from my new course.
Oh,
And at the
great.
very end, I always say, remember, clarity is power. Remember, clarity is power. So that's going to be my new tagline. And we forget because of all these filters, right? That we are conditioned as we get older. If you see a child, let's say a 3-year-old with here's a remote, eating an ice cream cone, okay? They are so in their joy, aren't they?
Right.
They're
Yes.
enjoying it because they're in their joy. They're not worried about, I wonder if this is gluten-free. You know what I mean? They're not thinking about that. Children are a good example. Animals, rock stars, I also use as an example. They wear weird stuff sometimes, right?
Mhm.
They don't care. They're not thinking, oh, I wonder if these leopard skin, whatever, make my thighs look too big. No, they are in such joy, right? Lady Gaga, does she worry about what everybody thinks about her new hair thing? No. So they're in such joy that we appreciate it. So they're vibrating on such a joyous frequency, right? Because that's their
Mhm.
true self that you can't help but watch it. It's like a magnet. So we need to get
Yes.
into that joy zone. I call it my joy bubble. I actually call it my joy bubble. We need to be in that, touch it as much as possible so that our soul, our whole body, our memory cells remembers what it feels like. We need to remember what it feels like.
Mm.
So this concept, have you guys heard of this concept, touching the dream? So
No.
let's say you have a dream, okay, of living a luxury life, right? I want to lead a luxury life and only stay in 5-star hotels and whatever. So let's say you can't afford it right now. That's okay. Go and have a milkshake at the Ritz-Carlton, get dressed up and touch the dream. So I'll look at the yachts. I'll talk to people that are around the yachts, because I live in San Diego.
Nice.
So touch the dream as much as possible because that gets you in that bubble. The superconscious is something where you don't know yet how to get there, but you can imagine it because we're very powerful.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think I have an imagination quote on my website. I can't remember. It's probably Einstein. How it's more powerful than knowledge. And it is. That's how everything gets invented.
Mm-hmm.
Who would think that we were going to pay Turo? You know how you can rent somebody's car? And if I want to rent a Mercedes convertible this weekend, I just look it up on my app and I can rent one for 3 days and touch the dream. Who would have thought that 5 years ago that somebody would rent you their car and have a lockbox on it?
Brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that brilliant? So imagination is where it's at. Imagination out of your comfort zone is where the joy is, yes, but it's also where things get created and invented. And it's where a lot of our true power is.
So I have to ask, do you often find that sometimes creativity and business don't always exist in the same human? Is that where the team
Yes.
comes in? I
Yes.
mean, you seem to have both, which is such a superpower, because that is the
Yes.
only way things don't happen, it seems, is when there's a creative person over here with all the ideas and no business sense, and there's a business person over here who doesn't have the ideas.
Yeah. Well, here's the key. There's one caveat and there's one secret tool that I use to get us into that mode, and it's fun. Like I make it as fun as possible. I don't care what the topic is, where I am. I make sure that whatever, like let's say we're doing a training on delegation in leadership, Copenhagen, Denmark. When they hired me, they're like, you have to wear a suit, like the pants and the blazer have to be matching. So I wore a black turtleneck, my black skirt, black boots, the vinyl ones, the shiny ones, and a lime green blazer and a big gold necklace. That's what I wore.
Lovely.
Fantastic.
And guess what? There was like 8 trainers. I got the best scores. Why? Not because I'm smarter, but because I went in going, you know what? Everything is about connections. Everything. I don't care if you're in sales. I don't care if you're in social media. I don't care if you're selling shoes. It's all about the connection. So I went in and I designed a game. Delegation is all about trust, right? To delegate something, I got to trust Kim. I got to trust me. I got to trust the world. I got to trust the process, right? So I had rubber chickens. I made it fun. I made it a game.
Good for you.
And they learned it and they remember it. They do. So now when I have one company that hires me for several different teams, one could be in Denver, one could be in Texas, they'll email me, are you bringing the chickens? Like they already know.
Oh, that's funny.
I used them in Spain for a 5-day training. So on Wednesday night, the cleaning lady was there. And the rubber chickens that I left on the tables were in sexual positions.
Oh my God.
She goes, what training are you teaching?
She's like, is it too late to sign up?
I don't even know why I thought of it. I think I was just walking through a store and I thought, man, those do kind of fun. And so to your point, Kath, what I do is I use fun and playfulness, because think about it. When people are playing a game, what happens?
You're engaged.
You stay in the moment.
Yes, you stay in everything you guys are saying. You stay in the moment. You're engaged. People, haven't you ever played a game like with your family or with your friends? And what happens to the personalities playing the game? Real personality comes out.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's true.
Whoever's like really confident, all of a sudden, oh my God, they can draw. Or whoever's really competitive. So you learn a lot, like what really motivates them. Sometimes it's helping others. Like, come on, you can do it. Winning motivates them. Somebody else, it could be challenged. Like it's a really difficult thing they have to figure out, and they're really involved. So when you're playing, you're really yourself, exactly what you guys said. You're very present, you're very engaged, and you are your true self. Plus, you tap into that creativity. I believe we're all creative. We just forgot.
Yes.
We forgot because as we're growing up, right? Parents, teachers, whatever, neighbors tell you, no, you're not really good at that. You're not good at math. How do they know?
Yeah.
Yes.
I lost that one little meme, and it says, if my kid is bad at maths and good at tennis, I'm hiring a tennis tutor.
Right. Exactly, Sue. If we just focus on their strengths, just imagine when children are growing up, if we would only focus on building and nurturing their natural strengths.
I know. What a different world it would
human being that would create.
My goodness.
Isn't it? I remember I was the oldest of 4. My dad was really strict, and I would do my best to get good grades. I usually got really good grades, but if I brought 1 B, oh my God, that's all he'd talk about for like a week. Just imagine if he would have done the opposite. But it's not our parents' fault. That's how they were conditioned.
Absolutely.
They were all conditioned in a certain way. My point is, once we know those patterns, they're like a record player running, I'm not good at math, or whatever, right? I'm just making that one up.
Yeah.
Then it stays with you, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So we need to know which patterns are right now active in our lives, which ones are serving us, and which ones are no longer serving us. Because sometimes those patterns we've been conditioned with have helped us along the way. Maybe they served us, right? One of mine was, you've got to be the best. You've got to be the best. My dad would always say, nobody remembers number 2.
That's like Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last.
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby.
So many lessons in that movie.
Right. There is. In a lot of these things, there's deep messages, and the writers that came up with those, because they experienced something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People watch some of these movies and think, they went through it too.
Yeah. Tyler Perry was saying how he gets through some really painful communication and messages through his humor in the movies. And now whenever I watch any of his movies, I think, oh my gosh, you are so brilliant. You're just like sliding it right in there.
Oh, that's
but
so
what you're
cool.
saying with the record player too, I imagine that can turn into a self-limiting belief.
Yeah.
Your question, are you making decisions based on faith or fear? Is that kind of how you determine if it's serving you or not?
Yes, those give you clues
Okay.
which ones are still active. So I have assessments and things that I use, but I also do it with interactive games. It's just like sometimes somebody will have a conflict, let's say, and they can't reach the other person. And I'll just say, okay, well, let's just calm down, not all that busyness. That's why we need these moments of impact and the quietness, because that's where we get our intuitive hits. If we're too busy and talking and listening all the time, how can that get through?
Right.
And so we'll say, just close your eyes. What does, Jonathan, what's really bothering him? I'll ask somebody else, not Jonathan, but the person who's having an issue with Jonathan. And they'll close their eyes and I'll just say, take 3 deep breaths. And I'll say, so what does he really want? And then they'll know.
They'll know.
We already know. And same with ourselves. Like if you can't make a decision, well, I really want to do this, but I'm not sure. And I don't want to disappoint them and blah, blah, blah. All these voices, just get into quiet mode. Get into your superconscious, just very quiet. Ask your inner self, what is it really about that's holding me back? And if you just ask that question and sit in silence for literally 30 seconds, it will come what it's really about. And sometimes it's about stuff you forgot all about it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's still going on. Yeah. I did a lot of trainings for BMW when I lived in Europe.
Okay.
They flew me to London, to Oxfordshire. I can't even believe I'm saying it. As I'm
That's
saying
amazing.
it to you, it was like a different person. It's really weird. And one of their assessments is on determining our blueprint patterns. And there's 5 key ones that most people have, 1 or 2 that are still active. One of them could be, I've got to be perfect. I've got to be first. I have to hurry up. I'm too slow. I have to try harder. I have to please people, stuff like that. And so it's really important to know which of those are active. Some can be serving you, but there's also a shadow side. Like the fact that I had the one about you've got to be number 1, right? That served me in a lot of ways. That's why I went to 32 countries. That's why I moved
amazing.
to Budapest. That's why I became a trainer. Does it serve me now? Not necessarily. Like if I say, no, I don't have to be number 1, my shoulders go down. I can relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote a book called Bring Your A Game, and I do believe we should bring our A game. But the next book is called Put It on the Line. That saying put it on the line means to go beyond the comfort zone, to take risks, basically. But the first chapter is who decides where the line is. When did you decide it? Are you still deciding it? You see?
Yeah. It's
nobody
okay to
really
move the line.
decides. Yeah.
Yeah, the line must move, right?
Right.
Gonna move with you.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's going to be in different periods of your life, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
So-
like deciding, what your definition of happiness is or success.
Yes.
It was different when I was 25 than what it is now.
Yes,
I hope
absolutely.
so.
Hopefully, yeah. Some people just change. I don't know.
And Sandra, I know you like to talk about clarity.
Yes.
Tell us some things.
So clarity is the first step to everything.
Mhm.
That's why I always talk about clarity is power. Clarity, who you are. Who are you really? Clarity, what you really want.
Mhm.
Not what you think you should want.
Right.
Not what everybody else thinks that
Has.
you want.
Right.
Not what everybody else is doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
So clarity, who you are, where you're going, and what you can contribute to the world. If those 3 things are crystal clear, your decision making becomes very easy.
Okay.
Are you,
Yes.
like my mission is helping people connect with their magnificence. How you get there is another story. That's a strategic thing. But who you really are, what you really want is something that should be very clear. So one of the first modules I do is called Knowing Your True North, which is very related to that.
Yes.
And I talk about knowing your non-negotiables in life. So, yeah,
That's
you need to
interesting.
know at least your top 3 non-negotiables. So I'm going to share mine, and maybe that'll
Okay.
make it clear.
Yes.
So mine, I'll begin with the letter F. So my non-negotiables are fun. You guys could have guessed that. Fun, fair, for the good of all. So if I take a project or a relationship, whether it's a friend, romantic, whatever, in my head, I'm thinking, is it fun? Is it fair? Is it for the good of all? If any of those are not checked, then I don't move forward. It's really easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to cheat and take your 3 non-negotiables.
Ones, it could be all kinds of stuff, you know. There's got to be creativity, or there's got to be flexibility in it. And I teach this in a business sense, but in reality, because we're not our jobs, if you have very clear non-negotiables, they're kind of like your GPS, and it's like this with your life and your job. For me, it's kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same now with you as I am in front of 50 people teaching whatever, accountability. When you're in your real true north, right, in your own clarity, that's your most powerful. Because there is nobody else. There's not another Sue just like Sue right now on the planet that can contribute in the same combination that she can. So
True
when
that.
I do sales training, isn't
Exactly.
it? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah.
So there
It
is
really
no
is.
competition. It doesn't exist. It doesn't
Mhm.
exist.
It's very
I
magical.
say that in the sales training, and they all argue, right? All these big sales guys. Well, yeah, no, there isn't. There isn't, Robert, because what you can come up with during that client meeting, maybe nobody else would have thought of.
Yeah,
In that exact way. But
maybe.
I love that you say clarity is power, because my friend and I in
It
college
is.
used to say clarity is a rarity. You know, because
Yeah.
that's true.
It
But-
is. Most people aren't clear.
No.
Most
No.
people are not clear. I wasn't for a long time, and I think that's why it means so much to me. Once it's clear who you really want to be and what you
Yeah.
love, then everything else is easy. Decisions are easier. That you will attract the right people. You'll be like a magnet to the right projects, the right clients, the right relationships. But you know that saying, it's not about you. I did a CD,
Yeah.
and it's called "It's All About You."
It
Fusion
is
is
though.
really
That's true, isn't
It
it?
is.
It is all about. How could it not be?
You decide.
Everything
Nobody
is
decides.
about you.
But I love also that you're kind of giving our listeners a little bit of maybe an exercise that they could do, because with the 3 things, you know,
Yes.
who are you really? What do you really desire?
Yes.
What do you want to contribute, right?
Yes.
And then your 3 non-negotiables. So
Right.
with that little exercise, I think the listeners have a great way to really zone in on, you know, where their paths may be, you know, and kind of get more
Absolutely.
clarity.
Yeah.
And also, isn't it funny how, have you ever experienced when you ask people, what do you want?
Yes.
They look at you like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
And it's
Why do you
funny.
think that is? What are all the reasons that happens?
I imagine it's just a flood of like too many choices, too much pressure, and plus the record player, whatever that's playing. What do you think, Sandra?
I think it's all this conditioning.
Mm.
Because there's so much noise out there, more than ever. There's all kinds of statistics about how much news and how much data, pieces of data that we
Yeah.
get every day, and it's more than ever in our history while we've been alive, any of us, right?
Information
Yes.
overload.
Totally.
Yeah.
So there's so much information and noise that it confuses you. That's why you being in alignment, you knowing yourself, is more important than it's ever been, because that's why they can't decide what they want, because they're too busy looking at what everybody else is doing and what everybody else wants. And is what I want too selfish? Is what I want too much? Or maybe that's not enough. You know, I had somebody say, I'm not ambitious enough. Compared to what? So this whole thing of
you and you.
comparison, when you're comparing other things, that's all outside of you. It's not really you. So your unique magnificence is the superpower.
Mhm.
That's it. You know, people are
Unique
searching
magnificence.
so much.
I
Yeah.
love
It's
that.
hilarious, right?
Yes.
We make things more complicated than they need to be.
Yes. Yes.
It's a really funny story. I went to this ashram in Germany in the Black Forest. I was really stressed out, traveling a lot to different countries and different time zones. So my body was really out of whack. So I started taking these yoga classes. Long story short, on one of the classes, the girl next to me said, a New Year's Eve event with a guru coming in from India in the Black Forest. You think you might be interested? I'm like, yeah, it'll be a cool adventure. I thought there'd be 30 people. There was like 350 people there, all only vegetarian food. It was awesome. I loved it. And then every night after dinner, we could ask whatever questions we wanted from the audience, right? There was 350 people from all over the world. So somebody asked, what is the path to enlightenment? And we can ask whatever we wanted, right? Oh my God, I'm going to tell you, it was hilarious. And he's all in his garb and everything. His name is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. I love him. I got to know him pretty well, and long story. But anyway, and he just laughed. He chuckled and he said, human beings, you're so funny. He said, if I had two doorways and one doorway said enlightenment and another doorway said the 10 steps to enlightenment, you would go through the 10 steps because you want to make sure and have something to do to get it right. And oh my God, the crowd roared with laughter. And I thought, man, he's right.
That's right.
So we make it more complicated, but it's this record player of no pain, no gain. I'm simplifying it, but that's what it is. We think we have to earn it. We don't. It's our birthright. It's our birthright to be happy and fulfilled. That's all you got to do. That's the path to enlightenment. It's not some big convoluted thing. So I never will forget that. Then one other lady asked, how do I find out about my past lives? Right? People ask funny things. Mm-hmm. And he laughed. He goes, don't you think you have enough to worry about? Why would you even open up that can of worms? And I thought, he's right again.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
That's
hilarious. So again, to prove my point, we make things more complicated than they need to be.
Sure.
At the core of everything is clarity of who you are and your magnificence. But I have a worksheet that if they email me at Dream Team Communications, it says contact Sandra. I can send you that.
Great.
And it'll have some instructions, and then they can fill it out, and it starts to get clear because there's different levels of creation, of creating something tangible. Right. The first one is to have it clear in your head. The second is to write it down, because when you write it down, you're more precise because it's finite. The third is to say it out loud. And the fourth and most important is to have it witnessed. So those 4 levels create ripples in the universe, and it starts to happen. And let me tell you, you better be careful what you ask for, because it happens pretty quick. That's how Kim found me. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a manifester of note, Kim.
I am a manifester of amazing guests. I have to take that credit.
You are.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for that. Seriously. Because see, you're in your joy.
Yes.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Right?
Yes.
You're in your
Absolutely.
joy. What happens is people, when I ask them what their superpower is, they try to come up with some really special, sophisticated thing.
Yeah.
Usually your superpower is what you have a lot of fun doing, and that's really comes natural to you.
Yes.
Because it comes natural to us, we think it's not a superpower because it's not hard.
Yeah.
That's why people think they have to do a lot of stuff to get paid a lot. It's the opposite. Go play with them.
You're our 30th guest. Yeah, 30.
Yeah.
And
You're the
what you
dancing
said-
rubber chickens.
That would be amazing.
That's me.
But the thing is that the 3 of us, we've talked about this in amazement before, because after every one of our podcasts, we're like floating in the air, just feeling so amazing. And you've just put it in a nutshell. It's just joy.
It's joy. And when you're together like this, it's quantum physics, right? There's this thing called quantum entanglement. When 2 particles are formed at the same time, they could be in totally different locations, different state, different country. and you manipulate one of them, the other one changes too in the same way. There's studies about this. So the fact that we had this interaction right here tonight has already shifted our experience. It's already done. And whoever listens to it, it will shift them as well. See, so it's really easy because we're all connected. We're all energy.
Yes.
So our role, if we want to make this a better place, a better world, right? It starts here. My job is to be as happy as I can be, and that's what makes a better world. Doesn't that sound way more fun?
Yes.
So much.
Right?
I'm in.
Because you're like a little, I envision it like what is those sonar, you know those submarines, and they have the sonar that goes beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
So that's how we are. That's how we are.
Yeah.
That's how I visualize it. That's kind of like my analogy in my brain. So if I'm beeping, with happy, 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 that's what gets picked up.
Love it.
So it's important. And so this next group that I'm going to start is combining the business world with the energy world, because it's the same world. And these people in business are the most stressed.
Right.
Wow.
So we have to communicate on a deeper level. So the soul-guided leadership and soul-guided sales is about that. Sales is not about getting, it's about giving. If you go in with the mentality of, I wonder what I can give to this podcast. I wonder what I can say that would help people.
Yes.
Then I'm vibrating on give, and that's what I'm going to get. See? But if I'm vibrating on what am I going to get, then it's the opposite.
Right,
it's really interesting. It's pretty scientific to me.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
We need to have this very clear, because the clearer you are, the easier the choices will be.
That's so true.
If that makes sense.
Like when you said you walk through that door in Budapest, and then it's funny how like when one door opens and you're in that flow, and then there's another door and another door and another door.
They're there. I think the opportunities are always there. I think it's just, are we awake to it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I told my family about this whole opportunity in Budapest, and that nobody, not one person said, wow, that sounds fun. They were like, what? So because I did that, my line is way out there now. It doesn't mean it was easy. It wasn't. And and a lot of bad stuff happened the first year. It was really hard, actually, because I didn't know that people in Budapest didn't speak English. And there was a lot of learnings.
Yeah.
But what you learn the most is you learn yourself. You learn about yourself. I learned, okay, I didn't have a TV for the first year because I couldn't understand the language anyway. I didn't have a car. I lived downtown in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was great. It was very freeing. It was really hard. I had to get all new shoes. I couldn't wear my high heels or anything like that anymore. It snows. I've never lived in snow in my life. I had to ride the bus, weird stuff. I didn't know if I was buying sugar or rat poison when I went to the store.
Do not buy the sugar packet with the rats on it.
You know what I mean? I was like, so you learn a lot of things that you thought you needed, you really don't. And a lot of things that you had, you miss and you didn't value enough.
What a valuable lesson.
100%.
Yeah.
It
Talk
was
about
very
like
valuable.
the crash course of out of your comfort zone.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
amazing. That's amazing.
fantastic.
I think everybody should do it. If I had a class, I would probably, you need to go live in another country for a month, really live there, and you come back, you're a way different person.
Yes. Yes. I'm getting a lot of really exciting ideas right now. Sandra, so wonderful to have you here. I wish we could just talk all night, but here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we like to say a rising tide lifts all boats. So we want to support all of our guests, and what can we do to lift your boat? I know your email is sandra@dreamteamcommunications.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Dreamteamcommunications.com. Contact Sandra. I'll send them this stuff.
Great.
The next class will start April 8th.
Nice.
And this specific one will be on communication, because it's just a different world now. So we have to communicate in a different way.
Most definitely.
And that's the one that's going to start April 8th. It's a support group. It's very inexpensive. And just because I want to, as many people to join as possible, it'll be an ongoing thing, a couple times a month. every Tuesday.
Bombastic Broadcasting. Be aware of your own true clarity. Be joyful and be the person who sees all the signs.
God, I got emotional. You're awesome.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up. My man Mo said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on. Shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you. Why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride, proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything but doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna calm down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up, so much more in this world that you can do. Wake up, every little thing in this life that you're going